Welcome, y'all. Expressions and equations unit. This is student handout number 4, so it's lesson 4. Today we're going to start talking about one-step equations. I should have, and I don't know if I did, but I should have shown you the Math Antics guy, one-step equations by now, so you kind of have an idea of where we're going. So let's get started with our actual notes here. All right, so solving equations allows you to find a missing value or variable. All right, here we go. My pen ain't working. Let's get it working. Hang on. All right, it should work now. All right. The variable must be alone, so we must isolate or isolated on one side of the equation. It does not matter which side. All right. Isolate the variables by using the inverse operations. You're going to keep your equation balanced. So whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And we'll write that out here. Whatever you do to one side, do to one side, do onto the other. And the last thing is to check your solution by going back and plugging your answer in. All right, so we're going to write and solve the equation represented. So they drew kind of a picture of it for us here. All right, so what do you think that represents, an x? Remember, as I told you a while back, we're always adding, right? So we're adding. How do I know I'm adding? There's no plus sign there, Coach. Well, as I just said, we're always adding if nothing's there. Okay, so x plus what? 1 equals, and then there are 8. So what would be the solution there? Well, you tell me. Just think about it real quick. What plus 1 equals 8? 7. Okay? Now over here, there are 12 of those things, by the way. So 12 equals, how many x's are there? There are 3. And there are 3 x's. Okay? That means 3 times x, right? When we write it like that. So what times 3, equals 12? 4. Now, we're going to show you how to do that without just guessing what the number is. Over here, I'll actually do this in red. All right, so we're going to go x plus 1. Here's how you solve that. As it told us in the direction, we need to get the variable by itself, which we did right there, x equals 7. So we need x equals something down there at the bottom. That's where we need to get to. How do we get there? Well, we've got to get the 1 to the other side. And how do we do that? Well, right here, if we're adding 1 on this side, what do we need to do to make it 0 to get rid of it? Because if it's a 0, it's gone. So what do we need to do to make it 0 to get rid of it? We need to obviously subtract. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, which we talked about. So you subtract 1 over here. Now, 1 minus 1 is 0, which is what we said it would be. Now, what is 8 minus 1? It is 7. Yes, that's exactly what we got over there. Okay? Now, over here, The x is on the other side. Does that matter? It does not. Okay, it's still the same process. But right here, we have 12 equals 3x. Now, how do we get rid of that? How do we make that a 1x or just x by itself? Okay, because like we said a minute ago, we need x by itself. X needs to equal something. So how do we get rid of that 3? Well, we have to think about what is it? It's 3 what? 3 times x. So we do the opposite. So what is the opposite of multiplication? It would be division. So we're going to divide by 3. What is 3 divided by 3? It is 1x. Now, do we need to put that 1 in front of the x? We do not. We just need to write the x. So basically, those cancel out. And then on the other side, we also divide by 3, and we get 4. Is that not what we got over there? Yes, it is. Okay? All right. So right here, we're going to work this one out. 4x equals 16. What is 4x? It is multiplication, 4 times x. So how do we get rid of the 4? We have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So we have to divide by 4. Those 4s, 4 divided by 4 is 1, so they cancel out. X equals 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now, they want us to graph that and go back and plug it in and solve it. So we're going to take our answer, we're going to plug x, that 4, in where x is. Does 4 times 4 equal 16? Does 16 equal 16? Check. It does. Now let's graph it. 4, 3, 5. There it is. Right there's 4. Okay? You actually don't need to put those other ones. Just the 4. All right. This one, we need to get x by itself, so we need to end up right there. How do we get there? We've got to get rid of that positive 9 or plus 9. How do we do that? What is the opposite of that subtraction? So we're going to subtract both sides. Whatever you do to one, you do to the other. 9 minus 9 is 0, so they cancel out, which is perfect. We're left with x. 13 minus 9 is 4. So the answer is 4. So we'll come over here and graph that. Now, also, they want us to plug it back in. Okay? So plug in 4 where x is. So we have x plus 9 equals 13. We're going to plug 4 in for that x, so it becomes 4 plus 9 equals 13. Does 13 equal 13? Check. It does. All right. Now, what is this? What does this one mean? X over 5. Oh, that's confusing. That means it's a division. X divided by 5. X over 5. Okay? So if we need to get x by itself, and it's dividing right there, how do we get rid of it? What's the opposite of dividing? We need to do what? Multiply it by 5. Now, look what happens. Let's show you why that works, okay? You do not have to write this right here, but when you multiply it by 5, it's really 5 over 1 times x over 5. Do you agree with that? 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 1 is 5. Well, that'll simplify. Yes, it will. 5 and 5 go into each other, so it becomes 1x over 1, which is the same thing as 1x, which is the same thing as just x. Okay? You do not have to do that every time. I just wanted to show you why that does work. Okay? All right. So these cancel out is what we basically just showed you. I showed you the work, okay? You're left with x equals 13 times 5 is 65. That's your answer. So go over here and graph it. Now, you're going to go back and rewrite the problem. X over 5 equals 13. And you're going to put 65 in for x. So you're going to go 65 over 5 equals 13. 65 divided by 5, is that 13? Yes, it is. So it is In your calculator, put 65 over 5 and hit enter. Do 65 and then do ABC and then do 5 and then hit enter. It's going to spit back out 13 to you. Okay? All right, last one on the front page here. We need to isolate x, so we need to get x equals something. How do we do that? We get rid of that negative 8. But so what's the opposite of that? We're going to add 8 to both sides. And you're left with x, as we said. 14 plus 8 is 22. Go ahead and graph that. Now let's go ahead and sub that back into our problem. So we have x minus 8 equals 14. We're going to take that 22 and plug it in for x. Does 14 equal 14? Check. Check, 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 check. All right, random question of the day. What is the largest mammal on Earth? I'll pause now and let you answer. Welcome back. I want you and your partner to work out 7 through 12. 7 through 12. The largest mammal is a blue whale, by the way. Blue whale. You and your partner is going to work out 7 through 12. Don't panic on number 11. Don't panic just because it's a fraction. But you and your partner are going to work out 7 through 11. Okay? I'm going to pause it now. Go to work. 7 through 12. 7 through 12. 7 through 12. Pausing now. All right, welcome back. I'm going to go over and show you how to do each one of these. But before we do, I want somebody to tell me, how many hearts does a worm have? How many hearts does a worm have? I'll pause now and let you answer. Welcome back. A worm has 5 hearts. Excuse me. All right, here we go. 6x equals 16. That means 6 times x. So how do I get rid of that 6? I do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide. X equals, your calculator would have told you 2.66666. We don't write it like that. We write it as 2.6 with a line over top. So x equals 2.6 with a line over top. Hello? At 9:30. Is she here? I thought she said that person wasn't here. All right, I'll be up there in a minute. All right, bye. All right, welcome back. Number 8. How do we get that to the other side so we can get x by itself? We subtract 2.5 from both sides. And you're left with x equals 5. If it helps you to draw a line there to know, cross the chasm there. All right, 2/3 x. That means multiplication. That's a fraction times x. Now, if x is on top, it is division, right? But it's not. Okay? It's 2/3. It's a fraction times x. So what is the opposite of that? It's division. So we have to divide by 2/3. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. As we've showed you earlier, those cancel out. You're left with x equals 8 times 2/3. When you type that in your calculator, it would have told you the answer was 12. All right. X over 3, that is division. Okay. So what is the opposite of division? It is multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Those cancel out. As I showed you earlier, there is a process for that, but you don't have to show me every time as long as you know they cancel out. x is going to equal 7 times 3, which is 21. All right, I hope you didn't panic on this one. All you did was that is a minus 1/10. So how do we get x by itself? How do we get x like that? We need to get rid of that negative 1/10. How do we do that? Do the opposite. Plus 1/10. And whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So we're going to plus 1/10 over there. And when you do that, you should have typed that in your calculator. It would have given you 3/5. You would have went 1/2 plus 1/10. And the last one that I had you do, what is the opposite of positive 1.6? It is to subtract 1.6. And you're left with x equals 6.6. That is your answer. All right, beautiful. Number 13. All right. All right, before we get started with 13, another question. What is the study of fossils called? Paleontology. All right, number 13, write and solve an equation for the model below. So let's figure this out. This is like the equal sign there, okay? So on this left side, we have an x. We have one of them. And then we have 5, negative 5, so that's negative 5. On the other side, there are 9 of those things, okay? How do we solve that? I'll write it right up here. We do the opposite of negative 5, which is to add 5 to both sides. And you get x equals 14. How do you know to do that? You have negative 5s over here. Okay? Take them to the other side. And x equals 14. All right. Determine if 55 is a solution to the equation below. All we have to do to figure that out is substitute it in. So we just put 55 where x is. 55 over 5. Is that correct? When you enter 55 over 5 into your calculator, does it equal 11? Yes, it will. Okay, it will. So the answer is yes. Substituting 55 for x makes the equation true. So yes, substituting 55 for x does make the equation true. That is true. True statement. Pedro made lemonade for some friends. He served 34 ounces to his friends, and then he measured that there were 20 ounces left over. How much lemonade did Pedro make? Yes, we can solve that in our head, right? He served 34, and then there were 20 left over. So how much did he have to begin with? We know that that's 54. We can do that in our head, and that's fantastic. But I want you to make an equation, okay? So what do we not know? We do not know how much he made, okay? So that's x. We don't know it. So x is how much he made. We do not know that. We're looking for that, okay? 34 is how much he measured, how much he served. And 20 was left. So how would we do that? Well, how much he made, which is x, minus what he served, equals what was left. Okay? So x, how much he made, we don't know it, minus what he did serve, equals what was left. So how would we work that out? It would be x minus 34 equals 20. What is the opposite of negative 34? It would be to add 34, right? And you're left with x is going to equal 54, which is what we said the answer was. So 54 ounces is the right answer. Last one. A group of 6 neighbors hosted a garage sale in which they pulled their items together and equally split the profits. Each neighbor profited $56.88. What was the total amount earned? So what do we need to know? We need to know the total amount earned. So that's X. Total earned. What else do we know? We know there were 6 friends. And we know that they made, what was it, $56.88? Each person made. So if you split something equally, what do? You divide. Okay, equally, that's divide. You got to learn the key words, okay? So if they split it equally, it's the total divided by how many people split it equals whatever they made, which was $56.88 a person. Okay? Now, how do you solve that? Go back up here. How do you get rid of division? You do multiplication, right? And then those cancel out. You're left with X equals $341.28. So that's what they made. They made a total of $341.28, and then they divided it by 6 to get what they made a piece. So the answer is $341.28. Okay? All right. That's it for the fat guy in the back. But one more question. You boys wanted a sports question. Here you go. What sport is known for its iconic phrase, Love 15? The answer is tennis. Until next time, we'll see you on the flip side. That's all from the fat guy in the back.